Previous interests, what we're looking at over in the far corner back against the wall is we're looking at an exercise bike that you ride during the wintertime. And you're looking at a couple of trek bikes that are off road bikes that happen during the summertime, if you will, that can be ridden on the road or on trails. And so there are a couple of bikes here, and I used to be a triathlete. Cycling is very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I use, it's something that I've done for a long time. And so having a bicycle or bicycles makes a lot of sense for me, right? Not so much my husband because he was never a cyclist. And when we bought bikes, again, he went on the hunt. Oh, I'm going to get me a bike. I'm going to shake up my workouts and I'm going to get me a bike. And he's one of these guys where he finds what he wants. But in the hunt, what happens is we find better models. We find people telling better stories. And there were better athletes that were in better shape and they had a better bike. So this is a Trek road bike and it's probably $300 maybe, but he found like a $3,000 bike that was a racing bike. Now, my husband, if you met him, he was large at the time. He's still a large man to this day. He does not look like a cyclist and he's not a racer. But he tried to sell me on the fact that, oh, I need one of these high speed racing bikes because as I switch up my workout, I'm going to need the best equipment to get the best results. All right, well, let's take baby steps and let's think about this. Was this a previous interest of yours? And the answer was no. This is a brand new interest, a brand new hobby. Okay. So before we go out and we just buy the best, either because we can afford it or we're enamored by it or we're caught up in the moment of an advertisement or a strong testimonial, did you have previous interest in the topic? And I have to ask the question because if the answer is no, what makes you go from no interest at all to suddenly you have to have something? And so the question for this, and this is a strategy that I use a lot, and I want to encourage you to use it as well. If you did not need this item 5 minutes ago, and now you can't live another 5 minutes without it, you're probably caught up in what we call impulse buying. Impulse buying is where you suddenly get enamored by an infomercial or something at the end of an aisle as you're walking through the grocery store, or you're on a website and it says people who bought this also bought this. And you're like, oh, well, I got to be like those other people. If they bought this, they must know something I don't know, right? I didn't need that 5 minutes ago. And I can't live another 5 minutes without it, right? I must have this right now. So what I did was I made a deal with my husband because now I'm starting to get a little bit smarter as I go. I said, it's okay if you want a high-end racing bike. I totally support your endeavor in a high-end racing bike, and I will buy that for you. But you must put 7,000 miles on the road bike first. I'm going to buy you the less expensive bike. I'm going to give it to you, and you can ride every day if you want. When you reach 7,000 miles, I will buy you the bigger, nicer, faster bike. The reason that you're looking at this with the two road bikes is because he never went the 7,000 miles. We never made it that far. And because we never made it that far, he never got the better bike. And what we settled for were a couple of ride around town bikes that are still good. They still work really nicely, but not as much of an investment. And here you see it's sitting inside the house during the wintertime, right? So I want to ask the next question. How many days a week will you ride? If I'm going to buy you a new bike, how many days a week will you ride? And you have to start looking at your current schedule. And you're like, well, I don't have time on Monday. I got this on Monday. I got this on Tuesday. I take the kids here somewhere on Wednesday. I got work meeting late on Thursday. All of a sudden, there is no day of your week you can ride a bike, right? Unless you get up really early in the morning, what will have to change for you to do that? And I want you to go a step further. At what temperature are you going to take the bikes outside? If it's 30 degrees, are you going to be riding the bikes outside or will you be riding the indoor bike? Because if you decide you're going to ride the bike 6 days a week and it's below 50 degrees, that means indoor bike, above 50 degrees, outdoor bike, right? So now you have a rule about when you're taking it outside and how many days a week. Now there's no excuse that you're never going to use it because now you have a rule about that thing. But it goes back to the earlier question about punching Bob. If I'm going to buy a bike, what is that going to replace that I'm currently doing? Are we giving up punching Bob so that we can then ride bikes? Because we only have so much time in a day, right? We buy these things without realizing that they take up time and commitment on our part. And so 5, 6, 10 years later, we still have punching Bob and we have bikes. And then we wonder, when are we ever going to get around? Because that magical day never came, right? We didn't put it in our schedule before we bought the equipment. And that's one of the reasons why we have some of the stuff we have, but never use.